Looks like I'm gonna get to test out my pirate voices, possibly. Hello, I'm Landis, and welcome back to Purrfect Date. I've made my way down to part of the beach where Murphy told me the shipwrecks were. I'm looking for clues as to what happened here, in case it's useful to my work on the antidote. Don't really know what I'm looking for. I feel a bit like a kid with my bucket and spade digging in the sand. Having fun. The voice startles me. It's unfamiliar and I can't see who it belongs to, so I'm on my guard. Who's that? Show yourself. I have nothing to hide, but I'm naturally wary of your intentions. You will give me your word of honor that you mean me no harm. Yes, you have my word of honor? I feel like a Cub Scout. I take you at your word, and I'm happy to make your acquaintance, Captain Corn. Ooh, he looks a bit more fugly than he did in the little picture. A tall, sleek grey cat has stepped from behind the wreckage and is bowing in front of me. I feel obliged to bow back at him. I'm pleased to meet you, Captain. Do you live here, in the wreckage, I mean? I think I live elsewhere, but I've been here for a long time. I'm trying to find my crew. I realise he's wearing a vintage naval uniform. I'm not an expert on military history, but I guess it's from the 1800s? Ah, Captain, did you arrive on one of these ships? Yes, I captained the Kitty's Desire, but I fear I let my men down. Where are they? I have been searching. Seems quite disorientated. What happened? Looks like you had a bit of a run-in. Run-in? My eye. Maliciously set upon and attacked more like. This disgrace of a vessel is a pirate ship. Be careful who you're calling names, Corn. That might just take umbrage, and then the cat really will have got your tongue. Another cat has appeared. A petite, long-haired tabby, also dressed in some kind of costume. Identify yourself, stranger. The new cat has turned to me. Hello, my name is Harry, and this is Captain... I know who he is, all right. What are you doing in my domain, Harry? State your business. I was just digging around. I'm not sure what for. I certainly didn't know it was your domain. It's not. It's unclaimed land as of yet. I dispute the ownership belongs to this rogue and cutthroat. I've changed the Captain Corn's voice because I realize he's not the pirate. Hang on. Let's not get overexcited. Who's a rogue? That's not a nice thing to say about a fellow cat. Do not put me in the same sentence as the mercenary ne'er-do-well. She is a pirate. And I've given her a very gruff voice. Calm yourself, Corny. Right now. I'm more interested in what the human is digging for. Oh, nothing in particular. Are you really a pirate? I refuse to discuss my business in the company of this pompous goody two-paws. If you wish to speak to me, you'll need to see me alone. And off she walks, with her tail in the air. Thank goodness that vermin has left us. However, she does make a point. If you wish to discover what really happened here, you're going to have to make a choice, her story or mine. Oh, Captain Libby or Captain Corn? Captain Corn. Well, as Captain Libby seems to have disappeared, my choice is obvious. Would you tell me your story, Captain Corn? A wise choice. In any event, take a seat if you will. My story is a long one. Oh, I do need to be back in time for tea. Then I shall hasten the telling. It began on a merchant run with the Kitty Fisher Shipping Co. It had been contracted to the company for some time, and I'd done this particular run many times before. There's nothing in it. It's very taxing for a captain of my experience, particularly manned with the crew to the standard of the men I personally hadn't picked for sailing the Kitty's Desire. Although the route was long, it was also straightforward. I've never anticipated problems. However, this trip proved to be out of the ordinary in so many ways. The weather was against us from the start. Freak storms had been plaguing a normally peaceful sea, and several ships had reported being taken quite far off their usual trajectory. The day was proving to be a blighter. The men were doing everything by the book, as I would have expected from my crew, tying down and buttoning the hatches. There was no point in being on deck, so I decided to write my log in the cabin. The first I knew of anything irregular was an almighty crash that sent us reeling. I gathered myself and made my way to the deck, being buffeted and blown so that I needed to hold on tight to whatever was available. Sam, my cabin boy, was the first crew member I came by. I could barely hear him above the sound of the storm. "Pirates! Captain, pirates!" I could hardly believe my ears. We hadn't had pirates on this route in all of my time as a captain. Far too audacious a challenge. My first thought was, they must be as much at the mercy of the storm as we. But that assumption was quickly dispelled by the shout. "Pirates boarding! Pirates boarding!" It was unthinkable. I needed to gain control of the situation as quickly as possible. I drew my musket as I emerged on deck to the awful sight of human vermin scurrying around in the rain and crashing waves, trying to overwhelm my crew and get the upper hand. I could see their vessel listing perilously close to ours. On the bridge, the unmistakable figure of that she-devil. "Captain Libby?" "The witch of the waves, Captain Libby indeed." I stood my ground, holding onto the main mast and pointing my musket in her direction. I could not hear her laughter from the din of the storm, but I saw her head thrown back and her wild hair fly in the wind as she grabbed the cutlass at her hip and raised it high into the air in defiance. It was at that moment that I saw the wall of water rise up behind her, as though summoned by her. It was the last thing I saw. There was a terrible sound, as though the very gates of hell were torn open. I was struck to the deck, and blackness fell. Ah, that's what made the huge hole in the stern. Yes, we came apart on impact, and the whole ship was a goner. I don't know how long we had been in the water. When I regained consciousness, the waters were calmer. We were drifting on a piece of wood towards a wall of black rock. Sam seemed to be holding me as I floated in the water. "Captain, you're alive. I didn't dare hope." "What happened, boy?" "We crashed. The pirate scum rammed into us with such force that I fear all are dead but us." As I gathered my thoughts, I realized I could hear others moaning and crying out all around us. "We're not alone, Sam. Listen, there are others. Help me up." And between us, we managed to get me onto our makeshift raft. I sat up and looked around, taking stock of the utter carnage. There were men. Many of them clinging onto whatever was floating, keeping themselves from sinking down into a watery grave. I tried to make myself as heard as far as possible. "Men, we need to stay together. Try to hold on to each other to stop yourselves from drifting. I'm going to lead us towards the land. You have to get to those rocks. Use whatever you can to paddle and follow me." "You're a hero, Captain." "Yes, it was laborious, but we made progress and eventually reached what appeared to be an opening in the rocks. As we stumbled to land, the gravity of our plight became more apparent. Help the wounded. Pull whatever you can from the water. Anything may prove useful. We don't know what's ahead." "What about the pirates?" "We were all in it together. There was no place here for contention. Survival is a great leveler, so we all helped each other as best we could. We found our resting place, where you now live." "Base camp?" "But of course, there were no cozy tents or fire pits to keep us warm." "It must have been terrifying." "One tries not to indulge one's own fears when looking out for one's men. We managed to make a rudimentary camp for ourselves in a surprisingly short time, considering the condition of the men. Each did what they could, tending to the wounded, building fires. Food was primary consideration. If the men didn't eat, we would very quickly deteriorate. So hunting parties were put together and we sent out to scout for food sources. One made up of pirate scum and the other my best men. Sadly, neither gang was successful, bringing only some unfamiliar tubers and plants that were boiled up to make a soup. I knew we could not continue for long living on grass and seaweed. Men need meat. I became ever more determined over the coming days, sending out scouting parties in pairs throughout the days and nights. Each told the same story, no animal life at all, except for cats. We already knew that there was a population of very ordinary-looking domestic cats living all over the island, but as the men foraged further afield, they came back with tales of a very different species of feline on the furthest end of the island. They were larger than usual, and very hostile to those who came close. It wasn't long before the pirates began trapping cats and treating them as a food source. Some of the men were bitten and scratched. It was unthinkable to an officer, or a gentleman, of course. But these barbarians didn't seem to care what went into their bellies. They paid the price, of course, and quite quickly too. Sickness ran through their ranks so expediently that their numbers were halved within days. Most flung themselves from the rock to their deaths to escape the hideous plague the cats visited upon them. Some wandered off into the jungle, never to be seen again. I remember one lad, a pirate named Jim, lost his wits and began drawing strange pictures in the sand of half men, half cats. We tried to escape by launching out to sea, strapped to an empty barrel. No doubt he perished along with the others. Captain, if you refuse to eat the cats, how is it that you are the way you are? Don't remember too much about the transition, nor anything else apart from what I've told you. I know I was bitten, but I can't remember how. Do you know what happened to me? He looked so small and vulnerable, I just want to cuddle him, but I maintain a respectful demeanour. I suppose you were all overwhelmed eventually. My understanding so far is that the process is different in each person, depending on the amount of DNA that was transferred. The outcome, however, seems always to be the same. You turn into a cat. Yes, I see, of course. I know that. But what of my men? Why can I not remember? I'm guessing that you and Captain Libby have stayed close. Yes, we seem forever to be tied in spite of our differences. And you must continue to talk about what happened, your story. Woman never stops telling me. So that memory has stayed alive. Anything you haven't deliberately kept conscious fades over time until you lose it completely. I see. I'm sorry, Captain. Well then, I suppose I ought to go and find that wretched hag of a cat. I listened to her story yet again. Tell each other often. Keep it alive. I promise. Help is coming. I'm working on it. I need to go now, but I will be back soon. It breaks my heart to leave those two. I have to get back to camp before the professor starts looking for me. Now the important thing is, can I go back and do the other one? Looks like I can. And we're back. Time for Captain Libby. Without even answering Captain Corn, I turned and chased after the long-haired tabby, a real-life pirate, who would pass up the opportunity to interview a swashbuckling freebooter. Excuse me, Miss Pirate? As we reach the forest, the cat stops in her tracks and turns to face me. She straightens herself up onto her hind legs and takes an elaborate bow. Lady Elizabeth H. Rutherford. I should probably change this voice. Lady Elizabeth H. Rutherford. I'm taken aback by a sudden transformation from savage to lady. My subordinates call me Captain. My buckers call me Libby. She returns to all fours. Pleased to meet you, Captain. It truly is an honour. Enough with the nice talk, human. You want to hear my story? Well, you'd best sit down. It's not for the faint-hearted. I do as I'm told, and I sit on the muddy ground. I suppose the first thing you'll want to know is how a refined young lady of noble birth become a buccaneer with such a fearsome reputation. I want to hear everything. That is, if you're happy to tell me. It will make a change, talking to anyone other than that old windbag. Captain Corn? The very same. It was the likes of him that my poor brave mother escaped from, with a babe in arms, and only the clothes on her back. She threw her lot in with a picaroon rather than stay in her cheating, cowardly world. A picaroon? A pirate. Not just any old pirate, mind you. My father was the wildest sea-wolf of them all. Feared, respected, and loved. Your father was? I call him that because he raised me as his own. My mother brought me to him when I was not yet a year old. He took me in without question because of his love for her. Never once did he treat me any less than as if I was his natural child. I never knew my blood father, but I heard enough to know he was the cruelest, meanest beast, worse by far than any I've danced with on account. He was a peer of the realm, and was on Daddy Purestring's payroll for getting bills passed that really should have made more scrutiny. They were a law unto themselves, those men, hornswogglers, the lot of them. But I digress. My father brought me up as a water rat, proper. By the time I was 10, there was nothing I didn't know about sailing. By 16, I was running my own ship, the Catfish, and taking men on no pay no pay runs. I was good, if I do say so myself, and I gained a reputation for bringing home the bounty. I had ambitions too. I dreamed of being as rich as Daddy Purrstrings himself before my 21st birthday. So how did you end up here, Captain? We'd been going through a lean patch. Not just us. It was the same all over. The men were hungry and worse still, thirsty. You can't deprive a pirate of his grog for long without a mutiny rumbling through the ranks. When one of my boys put forward the proposal that we might try our luck taking on the Desire, a Kitty Fisher merchant ship, my first reaction was to stonewall. Normally we wouldn't touch a Fisher. They're too well rigged and too well armed, so you can't outrun them, and you can't overpower them. However, desperate times called for desperate measures, and I decided to think it through a bit more. Fishers are big and strong, but their captains are clueless as soon as they go off the designated route. Get them out in open water and they're lost as lambs. That's the trouble with rich folk. They can afford to buy the best vessels, but they don't know how to sail them. Now, I ain't got problems with Daddy personally, in spite of the company he keeps, but his ships are well stocked and my men were starving, so it seemed only fair we take from the fat and give to the lean. I put my hand up in the air to signify I have a question. Captain Nibby gives me an exasperated look. What are you waving at? Sorry, but you keep mentioning her daddy. Who is he? Who, Daddy Purrstrings? Gods, only the fattest cat of them all. That landlub had the coin to change the world, and what does he do? He invests in creams and powders. He? He was a cosmetics tycoon? He was an old fool with too much money and not enough sense. Do you want to sit around and talk about things that don't matter, or do you want to hear the rest of my story? I'm sorry, yes, please continue. So, me and Jim, that's my cabin lad, drew up our charts and made a plan. The idea was to track the Desire from a safe distance, without being spotted, and when we reached the midway point furthest from land either way, try to badger her into leaving her path. We used the tactics many times, tire him out, then start pushing off course. If the weather turns bad, so much the better for us. The gods were really on our side on raid day. The height of summer should have meant calm seas all the way, but no. Thick black clouds loomed over us, darkening by the minute. By the time we were chasing the Desire, I could barely see my own hand in front of my face. Realized the storm had now become our enemy too. Life on the seas has taught me well about weather, but this was something else. The sea raged and the lightning flashed, and we knew our vessel could not take this battering. The only way for any of us to survive would be to abandon the catfish and call a truce with the merchants. We had to board the Desire. We downed our weapons and raised our arms above our heads. But out comes that coward Corn, musket raised, ready to blow us all away. He knew we were surrendering, but he came at us anyway. His arrogance scuttled us all. His crew as well as mine, and in the ensuing rumpus we all faced David Jones' locker. I don't know what happened next. I woke up on the land with no idea how long I'd been there. But it didn't take long to see that we'd gone from one bad situation to a far worse one. We managed somehow to work together, us and the toffs, to get as many men as possible out of the water and onto dry land. We salvaged all we could and made our camps as we saw fit, them on higher ground, us by the water's edge on the beach here. No pirate wants to be too far away from the sea for long. Not that it helped us in the end. The place was cursed. There were things that weren't right. Do you mean the cats? They were starving, the men. They tried to hunt, but there was nothing here. We never saw a bird or a bear or any kind of beast, other than them cats. I tried my best to keep them from the inevitable. I foraged around and made all manner of stews and soups from the plants and tubers I gathered, but they became obsessed with meat. All I could do in the end was watch in horror as the nightmare engulfed us all. Only a few of us didn't succumb, wouldn't take part in the savagery. But even so, we weren't spared. All it took was one scratch, one small swipe of a claw, and the change began. As the sun shines upon her tiny cat face, it glistens, and I can see she's crying. I'm not sure how to handle this. Ought I comfort her? She's a fearless pirate after all. even though right now she looks like a little lost cat. I'm so sorry for what happened to you and your crew. Captain, I'm working very hard to put this right. Be patient, and I give you my word that all will be restored to how it should be. I need to go. She's sulking into the forest, but before she disappears, she half turns. Libby. You can call me Libby. Okay, so that gives us a little bit more information. So we now know a bit more about that pirate note we read earlier. Apparently, cats are immortal. Sleepy time. Oh, trippy dream. This issue of Kanishi Boy is super tattered. What has Kibbles been doing with it? Using it as his scratch post? I grab the mini hot iron and some sticky tape and get to work neatening it. I iron each page flat, unfolding the bent over corners, lining up the tears and patching them. I work slowly and meticulously. It's surprisingly therapeutic. After about an hour, I sit back and admire my work. I'm quite proud of the end result. Not quite good as new, but definitely carefully pre-loved. I reread the issue delicately, appreciating every flaw. I think I shall rename this one Kintsugi Boy. That seems like the wrong dream for the wrong person. Arrested. Romance. The Murphy. As the sun is going down, I decide to retreat into my tent for the night. When I undo the flap, I see McMurphy curled up asleep on my pillow. McMurphy, you're going to get fur all over everything. Oh, hi there, Cara. You're back a bit late, you rapscallion. Why are you in my bed? Ah, come now, we both knew I'd get in your bed eventually, didn't we? My hand reaches for the spray bottle, but McMurphy throws his paws up defensively. I'm an unarmed cat, Cara. And I actually came to give you something for good behaviour. Don't make me send it back, no. Give me something? What? Ah, sure. Now you're listening. I found something that might just interest ye. If it's more of that grog, Murphy, I can assure you I'm not interested in the slightest. I sit on the end of my bunk and push him off my pillow, but allow him to stay on the bed. As he moves reluctantly aside, I can see a black corner poking out from under my blanket. What's that? Why don't you take a look? I eye him skeptically, nervous of what he's roping me into now. Tell me what it is first. Ah, will you just pick it up, Car? It won't bite. Carefully reach for it and realise it's a small leather book, beautifully aged and yet seems to be in good condition. I open it as gently as I can, for fear that it might turn to ash in my hands. On the first page, smudged and faded, but not destroyed by time and water, are the words, Captain's Log. Can't stop myself from gasping out loud. Oh, Murph, where did you find this? There's a lot you can find at the bottom of a bottle, or 12. Are you impressed? Impressed? Speechless, I could kiss your furry head. Well, don't let me stand in the way of you and your passion. I hardly notice he's still speaking as I've begun trying to decipher the entries and I'm instantly engrossed. 1789, the men are getting restless. I begin to fear for the continued safe running of this vessel, my vessel, of which they are in a mind to take ownership. If my captain's instincts serve me right. Are you listening? Sorry, what? I said, maybe I should leave you to it then. Yes, no, wait, McMurphy. Tell me where you really got this from. Was it in the treasure chest? No, Cara. Would you believe it? That thing was full of nothing but sand and salt water. That bit of treasure, on the other hand, I found at the bottom of one of my crates of grog, hidden in between the bottles. But this belongs to a captain. Why would it be in the cruise provisions? I'll let you figure that one out, Brainiac. Think of it as a puzzle, to keep you amused on your cold, lonely nights. Murphy smirks and saunters out of my tent. Boom, new unlocks. Well, we may as well finish romancing the Murphy. Find out if it went well. Look at that star, and now take yourself 1,000 miles behind it. and tell me what you see. I laugh as McMurphy passes me the bottle. I take a swig before replying. McMurphy, what are you talking about? Just do it, Cara. The big shiny one way up there. Go 1,000 miles beyond, and tell me where you get to. I smile. I'm partying on Venus. Oh yeah. There are so many goddesses here, McMurphy. They're all naked, you should see this. The laughing stops. Or maybe it was only in my head to begin with. I look down at the fluffy cat, who seems far from his usual self. You okay, kitsy cat? I think there's a big pub up there in the sky. Murphy grins and closes his eyes. And there I am, my big human toes warming by the fireplace, and my long hair is the same dark golden colour as the air I have in my man hand. They're singing, lots of it, and people dancing all around. Those that can't find space to dance on the floor dance on the tables, naturally. There's an old sky pirate in the corner telling his stories to anyone who'll listen, of the time he sailed to Jupiter, or Mars. And you're there too, of course. You're sat right next to me. We've unlimited drinks because we're famous in these parts. We're practically royalty. Ale, stout, beer, whiskey too. They just keep coming. When it gets dark and the place is quiet, we sneak out back to the beer garden. There's a clear view of Earth from where we're sitting. We don't miss it. Murphy spits. We talk about our adventures, about how we sailed off this damn island, and how the ship became airborne. We talk about how we fought the big-breasted, bloodthirsty alien wenches of the Emerald Star, and how we had to charm our way out of the space slug's lair. I reckon we'd have a lot of fun. Of course you wouldn't be able to keep your paws off me. You'd be begging for a kiss and be saying, "No, Cara, I'm not a piece of meat, no." And you'd be saying, "Oh, McMurphy, please, just one of your world-famous kisses, the fancy French kind." And I'd be saying, "Please, Cara, control yourself." I start snickering again. What you laughing at? You? Or are you trying to say that you wouldn't be all over me if I was a human? Of course I wouldn't. Ouch. No, don't be mean. You'd be the one begging me for a kiss. What on earth gives you that idea? Top of the morning, Cara. I love you so much, to be sure. Give me a smack of burra. That's so offensive. I stopped laughing. I went a little too far there, I'm sorry. Murphy lets out a wry smile. Well, maybe I would try to steal a little kiss, but who could blame me? You wouldn't get one. Murphy's smile disappears. You know something, Cara? Huh? I think I should just come out and say it. Say what? You're alright. There's a pause. Not an uncomfortable pause. Just a slightly confusing one. You're alright too. Murphy is gazing at the stars. I don't know what I'm doing. It's a strange feeling. I'm used to being a step ahead of everybody. Well, 2 steps ahead of you. Hey, don't be rude, Murph. I laugh. Murphy grins. This feeling, it isn't new to me, but I'm still not sure what it is. All I know is that you get me in a way no one has before. I get you too, even if you don't care to admit it. I guess it's time to let the cat out of the bag. Now thinking, I look around. I'm so used to bagging and unbagging cats for my work that I'll take him literally. But his expression stops me from reacting. I've become attached to you in these last few days. You have captured my heart, and I don't want to be without you, Cara. Yay! 2 out of 5. That's not even 50%. We suck at this. Wow, I wasn't expecting that, McMurphy. Oh wait, no, technically 3 out of 5. We turned one down. I haven't had so much fun, felt so free, or been so happy as the time I've spent with you. I don't think I'd care to be without you either. You have my heart. To my surprise, McMurphy looks visibly relieved. Well, Cara, I look forward to many more adventures with you. We haven't done a single bit of work yet. I think, if this was real life, we'd be fired. If you enjoyed this episode, then tickle the like button, perhaps subscribe, and check out the rest of the channel. Why not join us on the Facebook, Twitter, Discord, and Patreon? Links are in the description, and rolling through the credits right now. I've been Landis. This has been Purrfect Date. Thank you very much, and avast ye hearties.